Hello everyone, today I'm going to be checking out a new ramen shop that opened in my area. I'm going to be checking out Marufuku Ramen. They opened a location in Cupertino and currently they have some other locations, but I'm really excited to check them out because I hear that they have some pretty gourmet and kind of fancy ramen. They're known for having really large portion sizes, and I also am excited because they put a lot of meat in their ramen. And I am also really excited because they have chicken ramen. That is one of their specialties, and I find it really difficult to get any sort of chicken ramen here in the US, so it's definitely going to be the first time that I've had chicken ramen in such a long time. Let's go! I'm really looking forward to some of the appetizers on their menu as well. I just arrived here at Marufuku. I got 2 appetizers as well as 2 of their deluxe ramens, and I also got a rice bowl. I'm super excited for their ramen. I got their tonkatsu deluxe ramen and their chicken deluxe ramen. In their chicken deluxe ramen, they only have 15 orders of it per day, so I feel like it's kind of hard to get your hands on one, but I got here not long after they opened. All the food pretty much came out all at once, but I want to start off with the ramen. The first one I'm going to be trying is the tonkatsu deluxe ramen. I love all the toppings on here. There's thickly sliced pork belly, there's also an egg, a little bit of corn, and some woody or fungus. Of course, as with any ramen, you gotta start off with the broth to see how really good it is. Wow, their broth is really interesting. The broth has a very light viscosity. It's very light and liquidy, but the flavor is so rich and creamy. You really taste all the flavor from the bones, and I really taste the fat that's floating on top. It tastes like some of the fat from the pork belly, so it's really nice and greasy. So I really love that rich flavor from the broth. But I definitely find it interesting that their broth has a little bit of a thinner texture, which I think makes it a little bit easier to eat in a sense. Now let's go for these huge pieces of pork belly. Like, look at this marbling. It looks fantastic. Oh, their pork belly is just out of this world. This is so much different than the thinly sliced chashu you normally get on top of ramen. It's just like a thick cut, almost like a pork belly steak in a sense. It's just so juicy, and it's been marinated a long time in this soy sort of glaze it almost tastes like. It has this really rich and intense umami flavor. This is some of the best pork belly I've ever had on ramen. I really appreciate how much effort they put into it. I know it's just one part of ramen, but this is almost the star of the show if it's not for the broth. And now we have to try the noodles next. Their noodles are really on point. They're really thin, and they sort of remind me of Ichiran's noodles. They really have a nice, bouncy, chewy texture to them, and they soak up the broth, soak up all the good flavors. And I love the crunch and pop of the corn. That's a nice sweetness, and the fragrance from the ginger is quite pleasant as well. I also taste a little bit of sesame seeds mixed into the broth for some nuttiness. Fantastic. Now for their deluxe chicken ramen. Of course, it looks insane, but we gotta start off with the broth, just like we did with the tonkatsu. This broth actually looks just as rich as the pork one, which is really interesting because it's made with chicken bones, so it's almost like a chicken stock. This broth is definitely on the saltier side compared to the tonkatsu. I can tell they're really trying to bring out the flavor. You definitely get a rich flavor from the chicken bones, and it really just tastes like creamy, chickeny, rich, fatty goodness. And I also taste the green onions a lot more. I think this is a little bit more subtle, so that brightness really shines through. The ramen's also topped with a little bit of chicken breast. The chicken breast is quite nice. It's really moist because it soaks up all the broth, almost like a sponge in a sense, and it's also seasoned with a little bit of white pepper, which adds a little bit of kick and fragrance. So I really like that it's doubly seasoned. Not only is the chicken itself seasoned, but it gets the flavor from the broth. And of course, let's just get another bite of these noodles. They're really so delicious. And just as I would expect, the noodles are so flavorful, and again, they just soak up all that chickeny broth, and I think this one is quite delicious. I feel like chicken ramen is quite hard to find, but it's definitely more of a specialty item, and this is definitely worth a try if you've never had it before. It's so much different compared to regular tonkatsu ramen. The most exciting part about this chicken ramen is they give you a sizzling platter with a giant chicken leg on here. It almost looks like the chicken thigh and this chicken leg that's still connected to it, and it's in some sort of soy/teriyaki sauce. They give you a fork and a knife to dig into this behemoth of a thing, so let's just get a bite of it plain. As I said, there's definitely like a sweet, sticky sauce on it. This definitely tastes like a soy sauce chicken. It's definitely a bit more savory than teriyaki, but there is a bit of sweetness and stickiness to the sauce, but it's really savory, and I feel like this alone is so much food. Like just this chicken leg with a bowl of rice would be enough, but now we gotta give our chicken a dip in a broth, which I think is how you're supposed to eat it, and I'll see how that tastes. Oh, that is the perfect combination. The flavors just go together nicely because the chicken is definitely tastes marinated, so it really retains that saucy flavor, and mixed with that chicken broth that's in this ramen, pure heaven. Now I'm gonna move on to our appetizers. I just finished the ramen and that was so much, but I'm really looking forward to these appetizers because they look really tasty. I'm gonna start off with their pork buns, and these look like some soft, fresh, homemade buns filled with a little bit of chashu pork inside. I love this so much. The bun is really soft and it's nice and a little bit chewy as well. I really like the texture of it, and it just goes so greatly with the meat. Kind of soaks up the juices from the meat, and the meat itself is the exact same giant piece of pork belly that was on top of my ramen. So again, so much flavor packed into there, and I love the mayonnaise that's drizzled on top. This adds a little bit of extra creaminess. I also got the shishito pepper appetizer. You gotta have some vegetables with a meal that's this rich. They're nice and blistered, and they come with a little bit of soy dipping sauce. So let's just give this a dip and a taste. They look really nice and perfectly blistered. Oh, the peppers are on point, perfectly done. Love the blister on the outside. Could use a little bit more char, but because it's not overly cooked, it's really nice and crispy. Definitely retains some of the crunchiness of the pepper. It's really bright, fresh, and flavorful. And then to dip it in the soy, this adds a little bit more savory flavor, and it's slightly sweet as well. Now for the rice bowl I ordered the mentaiko rice bowl. It is rice topped with nori, which is seaweed, and topped with a little bit of green onions, as well as mentaiko, which is spicy cod roe. It just looks so colorful. I can't wait to taste this. Mentaiko is super popular in Japan, and you will definitely see bowls like this when you're there. Wow, this is fantastic. Love the texture of the rice. It's perfectly cooked, really nice and chewy. And then topped with the seaweed, and then the star to show the mentaiko. It's just packed full of flavor. It's almost like a bomb of umami-ness. It's just really salty and briny and so spicy. It's a lot spicier than I thought. It's almost like the spiciness of hot sauce. But even with that spiciness, there's just so much flavor in here, and this is addicting. I know I said I'm full, but I really want to eat more of this. That's how tasty it is. I really love how much mentaiko and seaweed is on here. There's enough for each bite to be extremely savory and spicy and flavorful. And this is how I love eating my rice. I love my rice to be really heavily flavored with a lot of seasoning on there. It just makes it so much tastier. This was a fantastic meal here I had at Marufuku. I really loved all the items I got. I loved the tonkatsu ramen because it was topped with so much meat. And again, there's a ton of broth and noodles in there. Their bowls seem kind of small, but really they're not because they're super deep and they hold so much. They probably have a lot bigger portions compared to a lot of other ramen places that I've gone to. And the chicken ramen itself was also super unique. I've never gotten ramen with a giant chicken leg on a side. And again, I feel like chicken ramen is definitely more of a specialty. It's rare that I find chicken ramen, and I think that's definitely a must try as well. And as far as the appetizers go, the shishito peppers were great. I always loved the shishito peppers with my ramen in Japanese food. It's a really nice vegetable on the side. And then those pork buns were delicious. Again, it was that same really tasty pork. And again, I think that's what makes it really good. Because you know, a good bun is always nice, but the meat makes a really big difference, and that was really tasty. Especially if you're into rich pork belly, it's so satisfying and tasty. But my favorite appetizer for sure, well technically it wasn't an appetizer, but this mentaiko rice bowl was so tasty. Also, I don't find mentaiko that much here in the US, and it's super flavorful and spicy, and it's really unique. It honestly doesn't taste too fishy, it just tastes like really salty and spicy and intense, and just umami flavor. You all definitely need to check out Marufuku. Their ramen is really high quality. I love their gourmet sort of style, and their sides are just elevated to the next level. Their sides are definitely above of most ramen shops I've ever gone to. And yeah, I really hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure if you did, give it a like, and also make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.